Welcome to the You Were Designed for Greatness podcast. Each week we will bring you inspiring tips, stories, and ideas to help you be all that you can be, discovering your greatness. Featuring Donna Tashton. Donna is a transformational life and health coach, a highly sought-after public speaker, and the founder of Vibrant Living. She has helped hundreds find a better life, free of stress and living the greatness they were truly designed for. And now, your host, Donna Tashton.
Welcome to You Are Designed for Greatness. This is Donna, and I have a special guest that's going to share her story with us today. So, Sammi, say hello.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I am glad you're here too. So we were able to connect because we're both podcasters and be able to, I wanted to share some of the things that you've got going on in your story. So start telling our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely, yeah. So I'll give sort of like the broad general description first. I am a college student at San Diego State University. I am also the CEO of the Your Passion Agency, which is a social media agency for small businesses and podcasters to help them just save more time on social media and let them be in their own craft. And then I run the Fashion Your Passion podcast, which is a podcast all about finding your passion and being able to bring more joy into your life. And on top of all this, I'm also a productivity and passion coach, helping others to create their passions into a brand, product, or service, or just find more time in their day.
Amazing. So, where are you going to school?
I am currently going to San Diego State University, which is in California.
Did you grow up there?
I did not. I grew up in central New York, in a small town right above the city, a little bit north of the city. And it's much different than San Diego for sure. But you know what? Both of them are pretty great.
Yes. I've heard the weather's amazing there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm in Michigan. It's not always amazing here.
Yeah, very different for sure.
So to step into having someone who helps people find their passion, and if I may be so bold, say for someone so young, because I could be your mom, or I have a granddaughter that's turning 20, so
yeah.
For someone so young, how did you get here? Because there had to be some stuff. Tell me that story.
Absolutely. Yeah. So honestly, a big part of it was just the idea that I grew up really fast. I'm the oldest of three sisters. And so for some reason, I just decided that, I also wanted to take on sort of like a mom role in a sense, so I'd always be making their lunches for them, make sure they had everything ready in the morning and be cooking dinner sometimes. And I don't know, I just always felt like I needed to sort of do things for other people. That way, I felt better about me. It was very, very interesting concept, but that sort of, spiraled into becoming an old soul. Right. And so for me, I honestly feel like I'm a lot older than I actually am. And so I feel like I've had, lifetimes already happen, even though I've only been on this planet for 2 decades now. And so that's a big part of it. But also there's a part of it where, I was personally struggling. And so I would say when I was maybe 11 or 12, I was on the track team, and there was this 1 week where I just didn't feel like going to track at all. I was tired, I was unmotivated, and I just didn't feel it good. So I took a week off, and I emailed my coach. I was like, hey, listen, I'm just going to take this week off just to sort of take care of myself. I'm not really sure what's going on. And then I never went back because I never felt like I wanted to go back. And so from that point, that feeling just sort of continued. And it never really went away. I just figured, I was tired that week. I had a long weekend, whatever, but it never really went away. And I was really kind of confused on what was happening because I never felt this way before. I didn't know anything about sort of, anxiety or depression at that point. And so I just sort of dealt with it. I just sort of was like, okay, this thing is here, but also I have to sort of go on with my life. And so I just, had it in sort of like my back pocket in a sense. And then when I entered high school, it just got worse. And I was, I felt lonely all the time. And I felt like, I wasn't doing things that were going to be like worth it in a sense. And I wasn't going to like, become anything and stuff like that. And I did some research and I came across, like those like WebMD pages about like, certain disorders. And so I found anxiety and depression and I read through them and I was like, that is what's happening to me right now. And it was honestly at that point, it was self-diagnosis, which I don't really recommend. But at the same time, it was liberating to finally figure out that like, oh, I'm not the only one who's sort of feeling this way. And it's actually a really common thing. And so at that point, I was like, okay, how do I tackle this now? And it was hard because I didn't want to tell my parents about it because I wanted to still look like that really, really strong person, who was always on top of their stuff. And so I just sort of, again, like I just suppressed it and just kept it with me and just kept going. I remember when I got to my sophomore year of high school, there was one day where I like talked to my teacher after class and I told her, I was like, I feel like I'm drowning and I don't know how to pull myself above water. And she was like, are you okay? And I was like, I don't think so. And in that moment, like, thank goodness, like she was like, I actually have like experienced this before and like, like we can work together to get through it. And from that moment, I just sort of, started a huge journey of figuring out, what was going on with me and who I really was. And it, throughout it, like it, and still to this day, it's the hardest thing I've ever had to do, and there are huge ups and there are huge downs. There are still moments where I'm just like, okay, like I just don't want to do anything anymore. Like there's, like, let me just quit all my work, everything I'm doing, and like, let me just take a break for a minute. And, throughout that process of from sophomore year, I would say till the middle of senior year, I just was sort of, figuring out how to, I guess, live again without, suppressing so many things, and sort of being able to sort of open up that jar of everything that I had that was like tucked in there, really, really crammed in there. And, finding people I could trust to talk to was really important. I mean, in that time, I started going to therapy, which is a game changer, let me tell you. And just, honestly, it was really just becoming more self-aware of who I was and what I was feeling. Because I knew sort of who I was in other people's eyes, but I didn't know who I was, for myself. And so, just throughout that process, I mean, I studied abroad in that process, and there's a lot of things that happened. But I would say the main thing that, sort of changed my world around was the middle of senior year. One of my teachers came up to me, like I had been chatting with her for a little bit, and she said to me, she was like, we need to sort of, have you progress a little bit better and make sure that you're not as like anxious and depressed as you are every day. And I want to help you through this. And so from there, we literally sat down for 2 hours, figured out a game plan for how I was going to move forward and how I was going to sort of turn my life around. And in that moment, I never felt so motivated to do anything in my life. I felt committed. I felt like I actually wanted to, have this work out for once. And then I took a couple of months and I did that work, and I was the happiest I'd ever been, which is when I launched the podcast, because I was like, I want to help others, do the same. I don't want people to have to go through my process just to get to where I am. I want them to get there a little bit faster. I think the biggest thing that I learned was how much your mind could take over your actions. and how much your mind is in control of everything you do, and how you have the power to sort of change what your mind is thinking about. Because I was so set on the fact that like my anxiety and my depression would always lead my life and I couldn't lead it myself.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I realized that that's not the case, actually, it's the fact that like I have to be in control of my anxiety and depression. That is the biggest thing that I figured out, and that's, I feel like, what changed a lot.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not to say like in that moment I figured everything out, my life is perfect. It's literally not. I'm, you know, still going through a bunch of things that I had gone through in the past, and new things have you know, come up. But I think just knowing that the control is in my hands and not anything else that sort of comes at me.
Right. It's very powerful to understand that we have a choice and our emotions don't have to rule us. To be able to know that I can choose. That is an incredible, great story to be able to share, of overcoming and getting back. So now you're helping people find their passion. And when you say passion, what does that mean for you?
Yeah. So I think that I mean, I get really like hyped up about this because a lot of people will look at passion and be like, oh my gosh, that has to be the job that I do for the rest of my life. That has to be, you know, sort of like my dream career. And I'm like, no, like it literally, the dictionary does not say anything about job, career, or, you know, lifetime in the definition of passion. And so when I hear people say that, I'm like, that is not the case at all. But really what I look at as passion is that joy aspect, that aspect of like, do you feel like you're actually living your life? Do you feel like, you know, you have some sort of happiness in your life, you know, and maybe it's for 5 minutes a day, or maybe it's for the entire day, whatever it is. Like, I just want people to have a tiny bit more joy in their life every single day. And so when people say, oh, I love to, you know, play soccer, or I love to, you know, like knit or whatever it is, I'm like, so how can you incorporate that in your day for at least 5 minutes a day?
Cool. That sounds great. And what's your podcast about?
Yeah, so the Fashion Your Passion podcast is honestly just a place for people to come on to tell their stories, all about sort of how they figured out what they're passionate about. Some people, you know, have turned that into their career, and some people are, you know, pursuing their career and also their other passions as well. And so, you know, I will come on sometimes and give some tips on sort of, you know, different ways to improve your lifestyle, different ways to implement your passions every day. And other weeks it will be stories, you know, like we're doing today, with other people from all walks of life, whether they're entrepreneurs or, you know, people who work in corporate, or, you know, just anyone pretty much, and just sort of how they've found their thing, or them giving tips on another way to improve their lifestyle.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sammi, for coming and sharing your story. And it is amazing to see you still in school, and you're still doing things that give you life and passion that are outside of school, and see where it all takes you. So congratulations on choosing differently and taking control of your life. It's been wonderful to talk to you today.
Yes, it's been so great.
I really resonated with Sammi's story and how she felt. Did you notice in her story of her feeling like she had to perform to feel better about herself? And did you notice in her story how she was stuffing her emotions until they refused to be ignored? That she wanted to pretend like she was strong until she couldn't go anymore and she had to seek help. Those are the things, as a life mastery coach with Vibrant Living, I help women do every single day. And my main group at the moment is turning your baggage into luggage. so you can live the life you have always dreamed. And so if that's something you would be interested into, comment, message me, reach out to me and let me know. I'll let you know some freebies that are available to help you through that, and also some coaching groups that are available. I believe in you, and you were designed for greatness. And so, as always, this is Donna. Until next time, saying live and love vibrantly. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us on this powerful episode of the You Were Designed for Greatness podcast. Please share this with others who might enjoy it. For more info on Donna Tashton or to contact her, visit iVibrantLiving.com.